What if I told you that the next 6 months could be completely different from the last few years of your life? I'm not talking about luck. I'm not talking about making money while you sleep or pressing a magic button and waking up rich tomorrow. That doesn't exist. And whoever promises that kind of thing is usually selling illusions to people who are already tired of suffering. I'm talking about something real, something that requires a decision, something that requires courage, something that requires you to look at your financial life honestly and say, the way things are, I don't want to continue. Because the truth is simple. Many people are not trapped in poverty because they are incapable. Often, a person is trapped because they never received a clear path. They work, they put in effort, they wake up early, they pay bills, they hustle, but at the end of the month it seems like the money disappears like water running through their fingers. And maybe you know that feeling. You get paid, pay one bill here, another there, buy the basics, deal with an emergency, help someone in the family, and before you know it, it's gone. Then comes that silent question. Will my life always be like this? But listen carefully. Your financial life doesn't change just because you wish it would. It changes when you change your way of thinking, your way of acting, and your way of using time. Over the next 6 months, you don't need to become a different person overnight, but you need to make a serious decision. Stop living on autopilot. Because money doesn't respect excuses. Money responds to behavior. It responds to discipline. It responds to learning. It responds to consistent action. You can start without much money. You can start without experience. You can start without support, but you cannot start without commitment. And this is where many people get lost. They want quick results, but don't want to change habits. They want freedom, but keep wasting time on distractions. They want to earn more, but don't learn a new skill. They want to escape poverty, but keep repeating the exact same choices that have kept their lives stuck. So before any strategy, before any business, before any plan, you need to understand one thing. The next 6 months will not be about miracles. They will be about building mindset, building discipline, building knowledge, building a new direction. If you do a little of what needs to be done every day, even without motivation, even when tired, even without applause, something begins to change. First, it changes inside you. Then it changes in your decisions. Then it changes in your results. And when the results start to show up, you realize it wasn't a lack of ability. It was a lack of method, focus, and consistency. So I want you to pay attention. Because what I'm about to show you is not for those who just want to feel motivated for a few minutes. It's for those who are tired of repeating the same life and want to build a new reality with their own hands. If you're ready to learn, act, and take the next 6 months seriously, then stay with me until the end, because this could be the beginning of an important turning point in your life. Now, before talking about money, before talking about business, before talking about investment, there is something that comes first. And without it, any plan turns into confusion. That thing is called clarity, because many people say, I want to get rich. But when you ask, how much do you want to earn? In how long? Doing what? With what strategy? How much do you need to save? Which debt needs to be eliminated first? The person freezes. And do you know why? Because they don't have a goal. They only have a wish. And a wish on its own changes no one's life. A wish is like looking at a road and saying, I wish I could get somewhere better. But if you don't know the destination, any path seems to work. And when any path works, you end up going in circles. That's why so many people work hard, exhaust themselves, do 1,000 things at once, but stay in the same place. It's not a lack of effort, it's a lack of direction. Imagine someone getting into a car and telling the driver, take me anywhere. The driver can drive for hours, burn fuel, pass through neighborhoods, take avenues, turn corners. But in the end, that person may realize they didn't get where they wanted because they never clearly said where they wanted to go. With money, the same thing happens. You can't simply say, I want to improve my life. Improve how? Earn how much? Pay which bills? Create what income stream? Save how much per month? Build what kind of business? Clarity turns a loose desire into a target. And when you have a target, your mind starts working differently. You stop looking at everything at once and begin to focus on what truly matters. So the first step you need to take is simple but powerful. Get a piece of paper and write down your goals. Don't write them carelessly. Don't write pretty phrases just to feel good. Write as someone who is signing a commitment with their own life. For example, don't just write, I want to earn more money. Write, I want to earn 5,000, 10,000, or 15,000 per month by a specific date, using a specific skill, creating a specific product, or offering a specific service. Don't just write, I want to get out of debt. Write, I want to pay off my credit card debt, loan, or financing by a specific month, paying a specific amount every week or every month. Don't just write, I want to invest. Write, I want to set aside a portion of my income every month, first to build my emergency fund, then to study investments calmly and safely. Do you see the difference? When you write things clearly, your brain understands that it's serious. You stop merely reacting to whatever comes up and start living guided by a direction. And here is an important detail. A goal without a deadline becomes a distant dream. You need to set a date, because when there is a date, there is urgency. And when there is urgency, you start organizing your time, your money, and your decisions better. If you want to change in 6 months, then those 6 months need to have goals. They can't just be 180 days passing on the calendar. You need to know what you're going to do in the first month, the second, the third. You need to know what you're going to cut, what you're going to learn, what you're going to sell, what you're going to improve, what you're going to stop repeating. Because a person without clarity keeps saying, I'll figure it out later. But a person who has decided says, I start today. And there is another point many people forget. Clarity also means knowing what you no longer want. You no longer want to reach the end of the month not knowing where the money went. You no longer want to depend on a single income that barely covers your expenses. You no longer want to postpone your plans because nothing is ever left over. You no longer want to feel like you work only to pay bills. When you know what you no longer want, it becomes easier to choose what needs to change. So do this exercise honestly. Write down 5 main goals for the next 6 months, but don't write empty goals. Write goals that can be measured. How much do you want to earn? How much do you want to save? What skill do you want to learn? What business do you want to start? What financial habit do you need to abandon? And after writing them down, look at those goals every day, because clarity is not something you do once and forget. Clarity needs to be remembered. It needs to be in front of you. It needs to pull you back when distractions try to carry you away. On hard days, your goals will remind you why you started. On tired days, they will show you that there is a reason. On days of doubt, they will stop you from going back to your old life. Because those who don't know what they want accept anything. But those who have clarity begin to choose better. They choose better where to put their money. They choose better who they spend time with. They choose better what they watch. They choose better how they use their time. They choose better which opportunities to accept and which distractions to reject. And that is how the turnaround begins. It doesn't begin with millions in the bank. It doesn't begin with a big company. It doesn't begin with applause. It begins with an ordinary person, tired of living on autopilot, picking up a piece of paper and saying, "Now I know where I'm going." Because when you clearly define what you want, how much you want, why you want it, and by when you want it, you stop being someone waiting for life to get better and become someone building a better life. And that is the first great key to getting unstuck: clarity. Without clarity, you get lost. With clarity, you start moving forward. But now, I need to tell you something that many people ignore when they start seeking a better life. Money, on its own, doesn't sustain anyone along the way. At first, it might seem like it does. The person gets excited, watches a video, buys a new notebook, writes down beautiful goals, promises themselves that this time things will be different. They tell themselves, this time it's happening, this time I'll do things differently. And for a few days, they genuinely start well. They wake up earlier, try to save, research ways to earn money, think about starting a business, learn something new. But then real life shows up. The exhaustion after a long day shows up. An unexpected bill shows up. Someone says it won't work out. The urge to quit and go back to the comfort of what's familiar shows up. The silent doubt arrives. Can I really do this? Is this for me? And that is exactly the moment when many people give up. Not because they lacked ability, not because they weren't smart, not because they were born to fail, but because they only had a goal in their head and not a strong enough reason in their heart. There is an enormous difference between wanting money and knowing why you want money. Wanting money is easy. Everyone wants it. But knowing the deep reason behind that desire is another thing entirely. That is what keeps a person going when motivation disappears, because motivation is like wind. Some days it blows strong, some days it barely shows up. But your why is like a root. When it runs deep, it holds you upright even when the wind blows against you. So I want you to pause for a moment and think honestly. Why do you want to escape financial hardship? Don't answer automatically. Don't just say, because I want a better life. That is true, but it's still not enough. Go deeper. Maybe you want to escape poverty because you can't bear to see your family counting coins at the end of the month anymore. Maybe you want to give your children more security. Maybe you want to help your parents who work their whole lives and still carry worries. Maybe you want to pay your bills without that tightness in your chest. Maybe you want to walk into a store and buy what you need without doing mental math in every aisle. Maybe your why is waking up without the fear of the phone ringing with a collection call. Maybe it's looking at your home and knowing there is peace there, not despair. Maybe it's being able to say yes to an opportunity instead of always saying, not right now. And maybe your reason is even more personal, proving to yourself that you can do it, not to show off. Not to humiliate anyone, not to seem better than others, but to look in the mirror and say, I did not accept living below what I could have built. That kind of reason changes everything, because when you work only for money, any difficulty seems too great. But when you work for a cause, for a family, for a freedom, for a new story, you find strength where before there was only exhaustion. Think of a mother or a father who leaves home early, faces traffic, hard work, pressure, responsibilities, and still keeps going. Why? Because there is something greater than the discomfort of the day. There is someone waiting. There is a reason. There is a responsibility. In financial life, it's the same thing. You need a reason so clear that when the temptation comes to spend on something you don't need, you remember, no, I have a greater goal. When a distraction appears, you remember, no, my time right now is building my freedom. But when someone laughs at your plan, you remember, this person doesn't carry my dream, doesn't pay my bills, and doesn't live my life. Because listen well, on the path to change, not everyone will support you. Some people will say it's impossible. Others will say you're dreaming too big. Some will try to pull you back into the same conversations as always, the same habits as always, the same mindset as always. And many times, these people don't do it out of malice. They are simply repeating the limited view of life they received. To them, wanting more seems dangerous, growing seems strange, changing seems like a threat. So when you start moving, they try to convince you to stay still as well. But you cannot hand your life over to the opinion of those who are not willing to build what you want to build. If your why is strong, You learn to listen less to the noise outside and more to the voice within. And that voice needs to say every day, I am doing this for a reason. You are doing this so you don't have to depend on luck alone. You are doing this to have choices. You are doing this so you don't always have to live putting out fires. You are doing this to build a solid foundation. You are doing this to turn effort into results. You are doing this so that the coming years are not simply a repetition of the years behind you. Because a person without a strong why easily negotiates away their dreams. Today, they skip a commitment. Tomorrow they postpone. The day after they forget. Before long, they're back at the same point saying, someday I'll try again. But a person with a strong why acts differently. They may fall, but they get back up. They may fall behind, but they get back on track. They may make mistakes, but they learn. They may get tired, but they don't give up. Because they know they're not fighting out of vanity. They're fighting for a more dignified, more free, and more secure life. And here is a very important detail. Your why needs to be connected to something that truly moves you. Don't copy someone else's reason. Don't say you want to get rich just because you saw someone talking about it on the internet. Don't choose a goal just because it sounds appealing. Your reason needs to be genuine. If your reason is your family, write that down. If your reason is your freedom, write that down. If your reason is getting out of debt, write that down. If your reason is never feeling trapped by lack of money again, write that down. If your reason is rebuilding your confidence, write that down. Put it into words, make it clear, read it every day, because on good days your why will inspire you. But on hard days, it will sustain you, and you will have hard days. That needs to be clear. There will be days when you work and see no results. There will be days when your first attempt doesn't work out. There will be days when you study and feel like you understood nothing. There will be days when the urge to go back to the old path will come with full force. But when your reason is great, you don't stop because of one bad day. You breathe, reorganize, learn, and keep going. That is how an ordinary person begins to build something extraordinary. Not because they never feel fear, but because they have a reason greater than the fear. Not because they never get tired, but because they have a reason greater than the exhaustion. Not because everything works out quickly, but because they understand that true change requires steadiness. So now ask yourself a serious question. What is at stake if you don't change? Think about that. If you keep doing exactly what you do today, spending the way you spend today, using your time the way you use it today, learning the way you learn today, in 6 months, will your life be different or the same? That question might be uncomfortable, but it is necessary, because sometimes a person only wakes up when they realize that not changing also has a price. Staying still is expensive. Postponing is expensive. Living without a plan is expensive. Not developing skills is expensive. Wasting time on distractions is expensive. The difference is that this price doesn't arrive all at once. It arrives gradually, in the form of missed opportunities, repeated years, shelved dreams, and that feeling that life is passing you by. But when you find a strong why, you stop accepting that repetition. You look at your reality and say, I may not have everything right now, but I have a reason. And as long as I have a reason, I can begin. That is what separates those who merely wish from those who actually build. So hold on to this. Money is important, yes. But money is a consequence. First comes the decision. Then comes clarity. Then comes the reason. Then comes discipline. Then comes repeated action. And then, over time, the results begin to appear. Don't just look for a way to earn more. Look for a reason strong enough to keep you from giving up when earning more still seems far away. Because when your why is weak, every obstacle becomes an excuse. But when your why is strong, every obstacle becomes training. And if there is one thing you need to take from this, it's this. You are not chasing money just for money's sake. You are chasing the possibility of living with more peace, more choice, more control, and more dignity. You are chasing your freedom. And when freedom becomes your reason, you start to act differently. You start to think before spending. You start to value your time. You start to choose your company more carefully. You start to study more seriously. You start to understand that every small decision can bring you closer to or push you further from the life you want. So don't move forward with just desire. Desire fades. Move forward with purpose, because those who have purpose don't need to wait until they feel motivated every day. Those who have purpose do what needs to be done because they know where they want to go. In 6 months, your life can be the same or it can be better. The choice begins with the small decisions you make today. What are you going to do with your time? What are you going to do with your energy? What are you going to do with this opportunity to start over? Don't let this message be just another video you watched and forgot. Turn it into action. Get a sheet of paper, write down your goals, choose a skill, set a time, and start. Even if it's simple, even if it's small, even if no one sees it. Because every great result begins with a silent decision that no one applauds at first. And if this message spoke to you, if it helped you see that there is still time to change, then leave your like to strengthen this content. Subscribe to the channel to keep receiving messages that help you grow, organize your mind, and build a better financial life. And comment down below, "I will start today," because that may be the phrase that marks the beginning of a new chapter in your life.